Hello, here is Soda, and here we are in another episode of Lien's Mod. So, before I start, I want to clarify some things that I forgot to say in the last episode. The first one is it's the Dwarven pickaxe with 2 of industrial copper and 1 iron ingots. With this thing, you can mine stone in a 3x3 area like this, but it's based on the center of the block. In this example, it only mined 2 lines of stone, but if I mine in the center, now it's 3 lines of blocks. So let's start by creating the assembly machine. To make the assembly machine, you will need glass, steel ingot, industrial copper, 2 motors, and 4 baking tubes. Let's start with the motors. So to make a motor, you will need micro copper wires. And to make wires, you will need the burner press or the crucible. To make wires, you will need a wire stamp and put it in the burner press. You can also put that in a foundry mold and make it in the crucible. But in my case, I'm gonna use the burner press because I think it's faster, not sure. Now, when you have the wires, the next step will gonna be make copper coils. With copper coils and an iron plate in the middle, you will gonna make iron coils. And with this, and with 2 iron plates, 1 copper coil and 1 iron coil, you can make 2 motors in the anvil. I recommend the anvil because if you use the crafting table, it's gonna be more expensive. Now the next thing you will need is insulator. You make with string and wool. Now with the insulator, glass panels and tungsten wires, you can make the vacuum tube. And now with all of this, you can make the assembly machine. In order to use the assembly machine, you will need some type of power generation. In this case, the very first basic power generator is the wood burner generator that are crafting with steel plates, furnace, copper coils, and 2 iron ingots. Now let's make cables in order to use this thing. Now cables are crafted with multi copper wire and 2 insulators. And now this thing has energy. Now, what do we do now? The next thing to do is the shredder. Now, to make the recipe of the shredder, you will need the mission table folder. And with paper and a die, you can craft the recipe. This thing, you put this in the recipe slot and it will tell you the things that you will need. This case is steel plates, 2 motor, steel beams, and iron bars. Now the recipe of steel beams are this one, a sterling of steel. And just like that, you can craft the shredder. Now, in order to use this shredder, you will need shredder plates. To make the shredder blades, you can make it with steel, but there is other recipe. So this is the recipe for the steel shredders, but you can use other materials. It's just the same with plates and the ingot in the center. Now you always gonna need 2 shredder blades in order to make the shredder to work. So let me show you the use of this shredder. So you put ore in these slots and you spare as much as you can so you don't waste too much. And it gives you the powder of that ore. With that, you burn in a furnace and it will give you the ore. Now, with each ore, it will give you 2 powders. And with each powder you can craft 1 ingot. So yeah, this is another way to double the ores. Now, the powder also are needed for some crafting recipes, so yeah, you just take that in mind. Now let's speak about early energy production. The first one is gonna be the steam engine. To make this you will need limestone, steel plate, steel shell, copper coal and a large gear. So to make the limestone you will need cobblestone and stone in this order. With that it will give you 4 of the stone. Now the steel shell are crafted in the anvil. You're just gonna need 4 steel plate and it will give you 1 steel shell. Now the large copper gear is crafted with iron plates and 1 industrial grade copper. And with that you can make the steam engine. Now there is 2 ways in the early game to make steam. The first one I'm gonna show you, it's gonna be the boiling method. With that you will gonna require a boiler. That it's pretty cheap, you're just gonna need 4 steel ingot, copper plates and insulator. Now the other thing you're gonna need is a steam condenser. To make a steam condenser you're gonna need a cast copper plate. To make a cast copper plate you're gonna need a cast iron plate. To make this one you're gonna need steel bolts and iron plates. To make the steel bolts it's just with 2 steel ingots. And with the cast iron plate and a blank foundry mold you can make a mold with the cast plate and put this in the crucible. So yeah, you just need to put some copper here and now you're gonna have the copper cast plate. Rest. Now to make this steam condenser you just gonna need put the cast copper plate in the middle and iron plates and steel ingots, and now you have the steam condenser. Yay! Another important thing you're gonna need is a universal fluid conduit. To make that in the anvil you're just gonna need iron plates. Well, it depends on the materials, but in my case I'm gonna make it with iron. Now you will gonna need 3 fluid identifiers. The first one is gonna be for water, the second low pressure steam and steam. Now how this steam works is that the steam will gonna come from the boilers. With right click in the dot it will gonna convert in the fluid you want. In this case steam. Now the steam will gonna come to the machine and it gonna make electricity and this gonna return low pressure steam. The low pressure steam will gonna come to the steam condenser and it gonna turn into water. The water will gonna come again in the boiler and it gonna convert it into steam, and just like that. In order to work this steam it will gonna need a little of water in the beginning. Now these things are full of water. Now let's put some coal inside. Now this thing gets full of steam and low pressure steam. And now this thing gets working, it's producing electricity. And this thing, it's producing this quantity of electricity. So yeah, this is a pretty basic system in early game. Now let's talk about the second way to generate steam. And that it's with the solar tower boiler. So the solar tower boiler is crafted with steel shells, steel ingots and dies. You also gonna need mirrors. To craft mirrors you will need aluminum plates, and with the aluminum plates and steel beams and steel ingots you can craft 3 mirrors. And for the last one you also gonna need mirror adjustment tool with iron ingots and aluminum ingots. So let me show you how to use this thing. So once you have the mirrors already placed, you can configure it with the mirror adjustment tool. Just right click in the solar tower and in the mirror. And now this is already configured for this solar tower. And just like that, we have another way to generate steam. Now this steam is generating this quantity, not sure. But as you can see, this thing is already working at their maximum capacity. So I guess you can put more steam engines to improve their efficiency. So basically, this thing with water converts water into steam. This steam comes through this fluid tube. It comes to the machine converts the steam into machine and also converts that into low pressure steam. The low pressure steam comes from this dot and comes from to the steam condenser that it converts the low pressure steam into water, and the water comes from this loop to the solar water boiler and it converts the steam. Yay. Now let's talk about the other way to generate energy, and it's with this machine. So this thing, it's not pretty efficient. So this thing doesn't generate too much energy. And if you wanna build more, you're gonna also need more wood. So what you can do about this problem, huh? So in order to improve the efficiency, you can build a wood farm, and with a combination oven you can turn the wood into wood oil. And this machine also can work with wood oil. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do, a farm to improve the efficiency of this machine. So to make a wood farm you will need an automatic buzz saw. Yeah, an automatic buzz saw. And to make that thing, you will need 4 steel plates, 12 iron ingots, 2 industrial grade copper, 2 vacuum tubes, and 1 saw blade. And to make this saw blade, you will need steel plate and 1 iron ingot. Just like this. And with all of this, you can make that thing. Now, the combination oven needs 8 stone bricks, 16 of wood, 2 cast copper plate, and 16 bricks. For last one, you will need fans. To make fans, you will need iron plates, steel balls, and redstone in this order. Also, you will need pretty much redstone. So let's start creating that farm. I almost forget this, you're also gonna need conveyors. So to craft conveyors, you will need leather and iron ingots in this order. This thing has other crafting recipes like this with ropes, iron plates, or this with latex bar or rubber black bar. The rope are crafting with hemp, pretty easy. And the other one is more hard leather. we're gonna talk about the chemical plant. Another thing you'll need is the pneumatic piston. These things are used to craft the conveyor ejector and the conveyor grabber. We're gonna need these two blocks for the farm. Now, this is the crafted recipe for the injector with conveyor belt and pneumatic piston. You can also craft with other materials. The only difference is the quantity that are given to you. For example, if you use stone, it's gonna only give you one conveyor injector. If you use iron, two, and so on. We're also gonna need conveyor inserter with conveyor belt and ingots. And for the last thing, the conveyor grabber, that it's with 4 ingots and 2 pneumatic pistons and a conveyor belt. So now this thing gets generating charcoal and good oil. The charcoal are ejecting in this zone, and this grabber is picking it to feed the heating oven, and the wood oil are going up to feed this machine. Now you're producing more wood oil than the one you're consuming, so you can use that excess of wood oil to make electricity. Now, with this system, you're generating this quantity of electricity. Now, there's a few things that I wanna talk about this machine. The first one is the minimum range. Anything that is more close to these blocks will not gonna be cut by this machine. So in my case, I'll use that quality to put the hoppers in the center. The second one, it's the maximum range. So the maximum range actually it's 7 blocks. But as you can see, this thing can cut 1 block ahead. I don't know why, but if you put this thing 1 block more far, it won't detect it and it's gonna pass away. And if it's a tree, it won't replant this happening. So yeah, that's the 2 things I wanted to say. So, well, I guess this is all for today's episode. I hope you like it and that type of generic things. Yay. What other things I could say, huh? I don't know. Leave a like and subscribe and yeah, that type of things. I'm feeling like if I've been honest, I'm feeling like a general YouTuber right now. Well, anyways, goodbye.